cut David Mitch's off before. You just gotta give him a chance to.
Why not? I'm not seeing it. Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday service, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Augusta. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Chris Garcia. This morning, our service will be given by Reverend Don Cameron, titled, Messiness is the Very Stuff of Life. This morning, our announcements are from our board member, Ted Newton. Ted?
Good morning. The UU Monday Meditation Group Gathering will meet online tomorrow, Monday, November the 2nd from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Please contact Elizabeth McNabb or Melanie Roberts for that information. And please check this week's e-announcements for the contact information for this group and others that you may wish to register for. There's also a link to the UUCA calendar that'll let you know what's going on at the church during this week and the month. Now, as noted in the October newsletter and November newsletter, Reverend Don and the board appointed a task force to coordinate small group meetings to share what we have in common and the future we want to build together. And we're calling these listening circles. The first step in forming these circles is to determine when everyone is able to meet together. Now, tomorrow, November 2nd, look for an email from the UUCA with a link to a survey. It's short and just asks about your meeting availability and options. The greater the participation, the better the information. So help us build our church for the future. The church remains in phase 3 of its reopening guidelines, which are posted on our Facebook page, allowing groups of less than 15 to meet in the church. Please let your board liaison and the church administrator know if you wish to meet in the church so the reopening team member or a board liaison can answer your questions, guide you through the process, and for the opening and closing guidelines. Now be aware that if the moving 7-day average number of cases begins to rise in the Tri-County area of Richmond, Columbia, and Aiken, the church may go back to phase 2 and face-to-face meetings in the building will have to stop. Now, the reopening team is closely monitoring the COVID-19 Tri-County trending and will make you aware in our weekly phase in the e-announcements. Also remember that flu immunization is your best defense in preventing the flu for those ages 6 months and older. Many places are offering free and some are even offering free gift cards, incentives to do so. Thank you.
Our opening hymn this morning will be played by David Netches. David?
I'd like to ring the chime first.
Oh. Is that loud enough?
Good morning, all. It's wonderful to see you today. The rain looks like it's easing up. And we have one of my favorite hymns in the hymnal, hymn number 354. We laugh, we cry. We've sung this any number of times in the sanctuary. So I hope you can sing along with me at home. We laugh, we cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something can feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe that sharing is an answer. A child is born among us and we feel a special glow. We see time's endless journeys as we watch the baby grow. We thrill to hear imagination freely running wild. We dedicate our minds and hearts to the spirit of this child. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a time together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth. And we believe that growing is an answer. Our lives are full of wonder and our time is very brief. The death of one among us fills us all with pain and grief. But as we live, so shall we die, and bless our lives are gone. The memories we share with friends, till they linger on and on. And we believe in life and the strength of love. And we have found our time to be together. And with the grace of age, we share the wonder of youth. And we believe that growing is an answer. We seek in mercy answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the ways of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and bless this peace of mind. And then we come together here to make a body fine. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is an answer.
Thank you, David. This morning, our chalice lighting words are from Catherine McTeague. Into this congregation, we bring our hunger for awakening. We bring compassionate hearts and a will toward justice. Into this congregation, we bring the courage to walk on after the hard losses. Into this congregation, we bring our joy and our gratitude for ordinary blessings. Into its shelter, we know ourselves to be blessed. These next couple days, are going to be pretty busy for a lot of us here. And they'll be maybe a little bit fraught also. For political junkies like me, I think this is, oh, here's why.
Spirit of God, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blowing the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Root holy coast, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Next week is going to be kind of a big deal the next couple of days for a lot of us. For political junkies like me and a lot of us, it's going to be like the Super Bowl that we've been waiting for years. So you can be sure that Joys and Sorrows next week is going to be pretty busy. For right now, we come together as a spiritual family, share the things that are in our heart. Our pastoral care member, Jan Parsons, will be leading us in Joys and Sorrows this morning. Jan?
Thank you. Now is the time in our service when we are invited to share the joys and sorrows that have come into our lives. We always remember first those who cannot be with us today. We remember those in military service, those who are deployed, and all of the families. If you wish to share, all right, we hold all of these joys and sorrows in the heart of our community. Blessed be.
Thank you, Jan. Our meditation words this morning are from Pema Chodron, an American Buddhist nun. I really recommend her books to all of you, especially if you're going through difficult things. This is called Taking the Leap, and this comes from her book, Freeing Ourselves from Old Habits and Fears. The natural warmth that emerges when we experience pain includes all the heart qualities: love, compassion, gratitude, tenderness in any form. It also includes loneliness, sorrow, and the shakiness of fear. Before these vulnerable feelings harden and before our mental storylines kick in, these unwanted feelings are pregnant with kindness, with openness, caring. Listen, these feelings that we become so accomplished at avoiding can soften us and transform us. The open-heartedness of natural warmth is sometimes pleasant, sometimes unpleasant, like I want, I like, I don't want, I don't like. Practice in the spiritual life is to train in not automatically fleeing from uncomfortable tenderness when it arises. With time, we can embrace it just as we would the comfortable tenderness of loving kindness and genuine appreciation. And that is the beginning of inner peace. Before we begin our meditation this morning, I'd like to make a plug for a project that I'm thinking of in case anyone listening to me right now would be interested in participating in it. I would like to propose a one-time introduction to practical meditation over Zoom for participants who might be interested in registering for that. And if there's a good interest in it, maybe a second session. And it would teach what meditation is and what it can do for you, minus the religious aspects. In my opinion, the spiritual life is not about becoming religious, but about becoming more human, more open-hearted, and more open-minded. So in this morning's meditation, I want to offer a specific aspect of practical meditation, which is placing your awareness on the things that trigger you, which is very similar to what Pema Chodron is talking about. How do you do what she is talking about? The emotional things that make you lose control. How do you learn over time mindful control and awareness of those feelings? So what we're going to do, we're going to meditate for 2 minutes. I'll mind the time and ring a chime at the beginning and the end. For the first few moments of our 2 minutes of meditation together, practice the experience of putting your mental awareness on your breathing. A lot of meditation is becoming aware of your own awareness in the moment, being able to place that awareness on something specific. So if you like to meditate in this way, for the first few moments after I ring the chime, just pay attention to your breathing. Don't try to change it. Just notice your breath in and out. When you feel your mind begin to settle, search in yourself for the truest emotion that you feel in this moment. Take your awareness away from the chatter in your thoughts, from the storyline, drop the storyline, and simply place your awareness on the energy, the pure energy, the truest emotion that you feel right now. Think of this as practice. Even if you're not feeling anything right now, try to experience placing your awareness on your breath for a few moments, and then try to find your emotion and place your awareness on your emotion. If in a difficult moment in real life, you feel yourself being triggered and about to freak out, if you can practice putting your awareness on simply the raw energy without the story of what you're feeling, you'll be surprised how much it helps you calm down. We'll meditate for 2 minutes. I'll mind the time. When you hear the sound of the chime, please begin. And where you hear the sound of the chime at the end, you may release your thought. This week is going to be a very important week in our history and in our lifetimes, and a lot of us are feeling very afraid of it. Like, whatever happens, we've been here before. And whatever you may fear is happening to our democratic institutions, what I've observed is that democracy itself is thriving on the ground level, on the level where all of us live our lives. Democracy is doing very well. We have never had so many people interested in participating in democracy before. When I look at people going out to vote, whoever they're voting for, what I see among the American people is community. Community and people coming out for the sake of collective good, however they imagine that to be. I think this is maybe the best preparation for the next 4 years, whichever way the road turns. And whichever way that road turns, aren't you glad that you're not going that road by yourself? That you don't have to go that road by yourself? We are a spiritual family. One of the things that Buddhism and mysticism teaches in general is that everything is impermanent. No matter how happy you are, it's going to pass. No matter how worried you are, that's going to pass. If you're happy a few days from now, that's going to pass. If you're worried and scared a few days from now, that's going to pass too. Everything passes except your human heart. Purpose of your spiritual life, whatever you believe about God or not, you have a spiritual life. And the purpose of your spiritual life is to be more human. The way you do that is by opening your heart and by opening your mind. And all the great religions agree that you need one thing to do that. You need people. You need connection. This is where you find that connection. You've got a really good deal going here because these are fine people to be connected to. We need you to take care of that. Now's your chance to do that. If you'd like to make an offering online, the link will be on your monitor.
A reading is from Robert Fulghum. All I really to know, I learned in kindergarten. Moving is a blow to my self-image. I do like to think that I'm reasonably clean and tidy, but comes that moment after all the furniture and possessions have been removed from my room and I come back to see if I left anything, And I look at the floor and there's all this stuff around. Behind where the desk was, behind where the bookcase was, behind where the bed was, and in the corner occupied by the chest. Stuff, gray, fuzzy, grody stuff. Look at all that dirt, I think. I am not so very nice and clean after all, I think. What would the neighbors think, I think? What would my mother say, I think? What if they come to inspect, I think? I got to clean it up quickly, I think. This stuff, it's always there when I move. What is it? I read in a medical journal that a laboratory analyzes stuff. They were working on the problems of people with allergies, but their results apply here. The findings: particles of wool, cotton and paper, bug chunks, food, plants, tree leaves, ash, microscopic spores of fungi, and single-celled animals, and a lot of unidentifiable odds and ends, mostly natural and organic. But that's just the miscellaneous list. The majority of the stuff comes from just two sources: people, exfoliated skin and hair, and meteorites disintegrated as they hit the Earth's atmosphere. No kidding, it's true. Tons of it fall every day. So in other words, what's behind my bed and bookcase and dresser and chest is mostly me and stardust. A botanist told me that if you gather up a bunch of the stuff in a jar and put some water into it, let it sit in the sunlight and plant a seed in it, the seed will grow like crazy. Or if you do the same thing, but put it in a damp, dark place, mushrooms will grow in it. And then if you eat the mushrooms, you see stars. Also, if you really want to see a lot of it, take the sheets off your bed, shake it hard in a dark room, and then turn on a beam's flashlight. There you are, like the little snowman in the round glass ball on the mantle of Grandma's house. London Bridge is falling down, and I'm falling down. The stars are falling down. Everything else is falling down to go around again, some say. Scientists have pretty well established that we come from a stellar birthing room. We are the stuff of stars. And there behind my desk, I seem to be returning to my source in a quiet way, recombining with the stuff of the universe into who knows what. And I have a heightened respect for what's going on in the nooks and crannies of my very own room. It isn't dirt, it's cosmic compost. Before I begin, I'd like to springboard on Chris. The election, I know people, we're anxious, we're all anxious. Just remember we have each other. Your life's a mess. So is mine. Why? Why is that? Because messiness is the very stuff of life. There's disorder hidden in order. And make no mistake about it, COVID-19 is a huge disorder in our lives. Oh no, there's trouble in the garden. Let's pause, do some theology, and have fun doing it. If Fulgham is right, it isn't dirt, it's cosmic compost. And if religion is right, all is one and one is all, then it follows that you are related, perhaps a distant cousin, to the cosmic compost in your vacuum cleaner. After all, one is a reflection of the other since all is woven into a single web of life. What is the moral of this story? Life is messy. It's all cosmic compost. That's the way life really is. There are patterns of existence, however messy and disordered those patterns may be. We interrupt this service to bring you a special bulletin. Life is tough. It takes up a lot of your time, all your weekends, and what do you get in the end of it? Death, a great reward. I think that the life cycle is all backwards. You should die first, get it out of the way. Then you live 20 years in an old age home. You get kicked out when you're too young. You get a gold watch, you go to work. You work 40 years until you're young enough to enjoy your retirement. Go to college, party until you're ready for high school. You become a little kid, you play. You have no responsibilities. You become a little boy or girl, you go back to the womb, and you spend your last 9 months floating. And you finish off as a gleam in someone's eye. This poetic doggerel, Reverse Living by Norm Glass, has a number of problems. However, it does shake up conventional thinking. It focuses our thoughts on the patterns of existence. We may even entertain a new paradigm. The uninterrupted life is not worth living. Any life worth living must be messy. I am intrigued by a story of a professor accompanied by a friend moving through a typical daily routine. It was a busy day, one filled with unexpected phone calls, questions by students, walking across campus, meetings to attend. At day's end, the friend wondered how the professor, with all those interruptions, got any work done. The professor paused and then said, "I guess my work is interruption." Like the professor, I find my life full of interruptions. People have a curious habit of not scheduling their problems on my timetable. They plan meetings when I would like to be writing. They have crises when I would rather be reading. They die at the most inopportune times. The interruptions are many. Sometimes I feel like the professor, that my work is interruption. One of our clergy think tanks advises ministers to work just 50 hours a week. Of course, they don't say how to do this. However, they do suggest scheduling only about 30 hours of that week, leaving 20 hours for that which one cannot anticipate. In my experience, 50 hours is too little time to do ministry, and 20 hours is not enough for the unexpected. Ministry resists planning, resists neatness. It is often messy. Life is like ministry in this respect. It is inherently unpredictable. To be sure, there are predictable rites of passage. Rational calculation from time to time is rewarded, but faith does not let us off the hook. To live is to be interrupted. We get jobs and lose them. We get married and divorce. We love our children and fight with them. We enjoy existence and suffer its slings and arrows. We relish good health. And then COVID-19 hits the scene. We hide in our homes, hoping not to get sick. Live is to be interrupted. But what are the problems of a life with no interruptions, no challenges to meet, no problems to solve? I think of a woman who died and went to what appeared to be heaven. Everything there seemed perfect. The woman lived in a fine residence. She enjoyed gourmet meals. She played solitaire and won every hand. At golf, she could only hit hole-in-ones. After a few days, the devil appeared for a visit. Enraged, frustrated, and bored with the perfection of her existence, the woman cried out, "I can't stand this any longer. Send me to hell." The devil smiled. "Where do you think you are?" As I suggest, the uninterrupted life is not worth living. Any life worth living is messy. Neatness is no virtue. Boredom is an obvious vice. Like it or not, our lives are marked by radical uncertainty. It is from my interruptions that I learn. And my first lesson is this: we are not in total control of our lives, no matter how carefully we plan. Life would want for drama if we were in complete charge and could orchestrate life's every detail. Remember W.H. Auden's poem, "What lipping devil set our head and heart at variance, that each time the younger generation sail, the old and weather-beaten deny their own experience and pray the gods to send them calm seas, auspicious gales." The first real interruption, I suppose, was in the mythical Garden of Eden. There, Adam and Eve were enjoying an idyllic existence. Then the serpent got in the act, and we've had trouble ever since. Then there was another great mythical interruption, Noah's flood. Really, it was God's flood. The Lord warned Noah about this so he could be prepared. Alas, the rest of the human race was not taken into God's confidence. It was a major interruption. And as has been said, the only thing that stops God sending a second flood is that the first one was useless. And now, we are living in a global pandemic. Human life is inherently messy. We bemoan its lack of neatness, but we must celebrate the power of interruption. It is the tension of the unexpected, the unanticipated, the unwelcome that draws out our basic faith in existence. I like to share with you a story. It happened when I lived in Maryland and was minister at Davies Church. It was a busy day, and I had carefully planned the day out. And it begins to snow. Strike one. My careful plan, office hours, then a meeting with the director of religious education. Quickly, nearby the church, slide by the ATM, the grocery store, and the pet store, birdseed for our backyard friends, then rush home. Remember, there's a church party on Saturday, so today I've got to get a real jump on the sermon. Put birdseed on the store counter and no wallet. I go through my pockets, look in the car, search in the parking lot. There's no wallet. Still snowing. The roads are getting worse. I double back to the grocery store, search the parking lot again, ask inside, no wallet, strike two. I go home, tell my then wife Jan the news and say, I'll never see my wallet again. It's now dark outside. So much for getting a jump on the sermon. Strike three. Next morning, phone rings, Jan answers. For you, a woman found your wallet. Oh, you of little faith in humanity. So I go over to Ruth's house. My wallet's on the table. Everything is in it, including my $200 from my trip to the ATM. Ruth tells me she's a Jehovah's Witness, just doing her Christian duty. I smile. I tip her $100 and give her a big hug. P.S. Ruth is a school bus driver, and this is the true story. How do we handle life's interruptions? What do we make of them? Life is seldom what we had intended. No matter how carefully we plan our lives, no matter how meticulous we have been in plotting our future course, no matter how thoroughly we have made preparations. Interruptions happen. The smooth and broad highway of our high resolve takes detours, which are often narrow, winding, full of potholes, and treacherous. In the comic strip, Kutsu is speaking with the Reverend Will Be Done. I love that. Life is unfair, the young man says. Nobody said it would be fair, says the good Reverend. Life is hard, Kutsu responds. Nobody said it would be easy, counters Don. Life is complicated, Kutsu rejoins. Nobody said it would be simple, reflects the minister. Nobody said anything, says Kutsu in despair. Nobody said they would, says Will Be Done wisely. Nobody said life would be neat. After all, there's a crack in creation. The world, the universe is not perfect. As American poet and writer Archibald MacLeish says in his play, J.B., humanity is, and I quote, that scratcher at the crack in creation. Life is not orderly. It comes with us without warning, unpredictable. As my colleague Richard Gilbert likes to say, we live on Paradox Drive, on Irony Avenue, on the corner of Tragedy Street and Comedy Boulevard. There is really no way of avoiding all of life's little or big glitches. No armor can protect you from disruption. Our lives are full of interruptions, including the last great interruption of death. It is tempting to bemoan the interruptions of existence as unfair. It is also possible to celebrate them as part of an inevitable messiness of existence, an opportunity for the spirit to soar. We can agonize at the way fate has intervened in our lives, or we can look upon these interruptions as a necessary, if sometimes painful, part of the drama, which gives the play plot, nerve, verb, fight. And of course, the play is your life. I am convinced everything that happens to us is sustenance. Interruptions are the very stuff of life. I'd like to tell another story. I'm in college now, and in the dorm room, I lived next door to the guy who ran the stage crew for the rock and roll shows. So I was on the stage crew. And tonight's concert was Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. And we forgot to ground the electric piano. Graham Nash's response, he sat down, started to play, jumped off, smiled at us, and waited patiently for us to ground the piano. Then the band continued at the exact point of the interruption. It was a great concert, very long ovation at the end. And I'm glad Graham Nash is still alive. American playwright Arthur Miller once said, I think one must finally take one's life in one's arms. So may we, equally undaunted, take our lives into our arms, accept its inevitable interruptions, celebrate its inherent messiness, go on with our concert and play it through to the end. Because after all, that's the way life really is. It's all cosmic compost. Amen and blessed be.
Thank you, Reverend Don, for those good words. And before we get to our closing hymn, I want to let everybody know that we have a very special postlude video for our services today. I got together with our friend Kathy Benedetto a few weeks ago, and she was gracious enough to let me video her singing a few songs. So over the next few weeks or months, we'll have the benefit of Kathy giving us her music. So if you're in touch with Kathy or you in any way, please tell her thank you for us, and she'll introduce the video during the postlude. Our closing hymn is a quiet hymn, number 318, We Would Be One. We would be one as now we join in singing, parting of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on our way. As one we pledge our lives to greater service, with love and justice strive to make us free.
The closing words are a Jewish prayer. I am afraid of things that cannot harm me, and I know it. I yearn for things that cannot help me, and I know it. What I fear is within me, and within me too is what I seek.
This is Looking for Space by John Denver. On the road of experience, I'm trying to find my own way. Sometimes I think that I could fly away. When I think that I'm moving, suddenly things stand still. I'm afraid 'cause I think they always will. And I'm looking for space and to find out who I almost there.